It is no surprise to anyone that Anakin's lightsaber fighting style was drastically changed after his fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar. The reasons for this are clear as day, however, a brief explanation wouldn't hurt. Anakin was a very talented duelist and a quick learner. He used his talents to propel him beyond many masters at the Academy, resulting in his victorious slaughter during Order 66 against the very teachers who helped train him. After Anakin's loss to Obi-Wan, he had no organic limbs left. Replaced with very painful, clunky cybernetics, the now Darth Vader had been transformed into a slower, yet more powerful version of himself. In this video, we will examine the fighting styles of both Anakin and then Darth Vader, saving the most interesting for last, and then compare them at the end to find out whose was more powerful. Anakin used a very fluid form V Djem So. During his battle with Count Dooku aboard the Shadow's Hand in Episode 3, we see his attacks too overpowered for Dooku's elegant Form 2 Makashi, and eventually killing him. Djem So emphasized to use an opponent's attack against them with strong blows and quick parries to cover one's vulnerable spots. While Anakin harbored mostly with Form 5, his fighting style was slightly diverse, as during his duel with Dooku in Episode 2, he employed Form 4 while wielding two blades for that brief amount of time, and he was also known to rarely use Qui-Gon Jinn's favorite fighting style of Ataru, which was the fourth form that relied on acrobatics and hand-to-hand combat, which we can see him use in these scenes. By the end of Episode 3, Anakin had surely mastered his dueling style with a lightsaber. However, his force powers were nothing near Vader's, seeing as how he struggled to overpower even Obi-Wan Kenobi in his scene here. And I say this in that way because Obi-Wan is actually noted to be one of the least most gifted Jedi at the Academy, but it was his mere dedication to the art that made him so powerful.
Hello there.
This leads us to enter the analysis of Vader's new fighting style. Once transformed into the mechanical Sith Lord, he had relearned everything all over again. Spending years meditating to increase his powers with the dark side, Vader developed a new variant of his lightsaber fighting style. The previously used Form 5 was now enhanced to deliver even more powerful blows and cover his flanks even better. Vader's style now incorporated elements of Form 7, Form 4, Form 3, and Makashi into his fighting style. Form 7 was used by Darth Maul, Form 4 was used by Qui-Gon Jinn, Form 3 by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Form 2 Makashi used by Dooku. Vader became ultimately well-rounded, but if we examine these styles closely and their main practitioners, we can see why he incorporated them. Dooku used Form 2, which was why he became extremely talented at fencing, while Qui-Gon's Form 4 used lots of hand-to-hand combat. Maul was strong with acrobatics when needed, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was magnificent in Sorsu, which blocked the opponent's attacks until they tired out, which is exactly how he won against Anakin. In the book Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, there is a scene where Vader fights an opponent named Roan, and through the whole fight, his enemy is analyzing Vader's fighting style. I will now read a passage from that scene for our analysis here. Roan's determination to thrust his lightsaber into the control box Vader wore on his chest had forced the Sith to adopt a more defensive style that had left his limbs vulnerable. Throughout the fight that had taken them up the room's wooden ramps, Vader had kept his crimson blade straight out in front of him, manipulating it deftly with wrists only, elbows pressed tightly to his sides. So as we can examine, Vader was constantly worried about the most vulnerable part on his body, his chest piece, that housed all the functions for his respirator and suit. This made him unbelievably cautious during battle, which is why he was always seen to look so rigid and closed when he duels. That, coupled with the fact that he couldn't raise his arms above his head anymore without excruciating pain, Vader was a completely different fighter now. However, this wasn't all that bad. Since he had this new handicap, he used the advantage to overdevelop his force powers, which is why in the books, comics, and movies, he is seen hurling objects and ripping off fixed pieces from his surroundings to hurl at his enemies. In the end, while his fighting style became more reserved and defensive at times, he was ultimately more powerful of an attacker, and his force abilities made Anakin's look like, well, a youngling's. I'll also mention one last piece of comic Legends material for you all. Vader actually fought a close reincarnation of Darth Maul, and won. That should say something. What do you think of Vader's new fighting style? Was it more powerful than Anakin's? Do you think he'd win in an all-out fight against his younger self? Discuss below and I'll chime in. I'll see you all in tomorrow's episode of Star Wars Theory. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends. Until then, remember,
The Force will be with you always.